I think he's an original. I think he's had a tricky time. I think the Radio 2 show is phenomenal, and I don't think they'll be able to replace that.
No, I don't.
And I think he's such a personality, and I think he pushes the boundaries. You know what you're getting with him. He's an incredibly talented and funny man.
We're in an age of new reactionism now, isn't it? We don't want boundaries pushed. We want to contract. We're going to play safe. Comedians can't make jokes about this. They can't make jokes about that. There's BBC policy units in overdrive trying to control. He's had to do his radio show since Saxgate with a producer sitting there waiting to jump in and throttle him if he says anything that might cause any outrage. I mean, they've made it impossible for him.
I don't know what to say. Yes, I think they have. I think it's a shame. I think in a few years' time they might look back and think we should have maybe taken a break and nurtured him, because I think they will lose their sort of star.
What do you make of it, Hardy? Do you think I have this suspicion that it's not Saxgate that's done for Ross. It's the outrage that the BBC paid him £6 million a year.
Probably. The reality is this: it upsets me greatly that a man who has broken boundaries since the first time he appeared on television has rewritten some of the rules of television. There wouldn't be the modern chat show as we know it were it not for The Last Resort with Jonathan Ross. A man that's consistently innovated and been funny, entertaining, has been a bastion of British entertainment. We will remember him for 3 incidents over an entire career. I find that symptomatic.
But everyone's now talking as if it's the end of Jonathan Ross. It's not the end of Jonathan Ross. It's the end of Jonathan Ross on the BBC for now.
Yeah.
I mean, ITV will probably snap him off. Sky, they've got pots of money.
Yeah, but, you know, I think it's a real shame that the BBC have let Jonathan go, because, you know, for a lot of people like me, really look up to him. He was, you know, a trailblazer for us. And, of course, you're going to get things wrong. But I think it's the BBC's job to get things wrong. I think the pay deal, if we're all being honest, the pay deal was way out of order. But who wouldn't have signed on the dotted line?
Yeah. So it's not his fault. That's what I'm saying. It's not his fault. The people that should be ousted are perhaps the executives that came up with that and signed it in the first place.
And also, I'd make a small point that he is produced. Every show he does is produced and executive produced. Therefore, the blame for when things go wrong ought to be shared amongst all those. You know, I think it's a sad day for Britain.
In the case of his TV show, that is actually his agent, and it falls back there.
In the Ross family.
Do you think the BBC's cut its nose off?
To a certain degree. I'll also miss him on the Radio 2 show, because I absolutely love Saturday mornings waking up with him. But the thing is, televisual viewers, I think TV viewers just... We get used to new things really quickly. I do. And so a couple of years down the line, we'll all be thinking that Graham Norton is the best thing since
Well, unless,
bread,
of course, Jonathan Ross has a show on the other side on ITV.
And he's not going... Like, as we said, he's not leaving television. You will know where to find Jonathan Ross.
He's got 500,000 followers on Twitter, and they reckon that if he did he could do a podcast, sell it for £1 a week. If every one of those people on Twitter buy that, he'll be making £2 million a month, £24 million a year, which makes the BBC deal cheap at twice the price. Let's find out what you think. Will you miss him? Kirsty.
We have Diana. She's on line 1.
Diana, good morning.
Hello, good morning, Matthew.
You've got a heartbroken panel. What about yourself, Diana?
Well, I wouldn't say I was heartbroken, because I think he's overstepped the mark on a couple of times. I still think he's very juvenile, and maybe the public that watch these BBC shows, which repeats in the same kind of format coming up, will get a cheaper television licence.
Oh, what, £6 million off a year?
Absolutely.
But when you think about it, Diana, in all seriousness, you know, he could make £24 million a year from doing 1 podcast a week and selling direct to his fans. Put like that, £6 million a year is cheap at twice the price.
Well, I suggest he goes on Twitter.
OK. Thank you, Diana. What about our audience, Elvis?
OK, we've got a couple of opinions here. So, first of all, Linda. Thank you very much. Will you miss Wossy?
I won't miss him at all. It's a personal thing, but I don't like him. I find that he doesn't engage with his guests in the way that I want him to. He doesn't. He talks over them. I don't get to know his guests, and I would prefer him. I switch him off. And now I think the money would be better saved elsewhere.
OK, I mean, leaving aside your personal feelings about him, he is widely viewed as being the best talent of his generation. The BBC have had him for 3 years, or maybe recently on Megabucks, but for 10 years or so since Radio 2 started. Overall, let's say he turns up on ITV or on Sky, do you think the BBC might end up regretting their decision?
They may regret it, but I think he's a good loss for them.
OK, one more.
OK, Lewis.
Yeah, I also think that Jonathan Ross will be missed by the BBC, but I won't personally miss him for similar reasons. I just think that as far as I'll watch him because he's the big name and gets the big guests in, but I find myself often disappointed. I remember watching an interview with Emma Watson and it just seemed to look like a train wreck.
OK, all right. Seems to be a familiar story, actually. Those in the industry think they're going to miss him. Everybody else...
on the TV show and on the radio, I thought he was the best. I loved every minute of being with him, just because you sit back and he's funny, he's quick, he's witty. Maybe he doesn't engage with some people.
I think we also need to bear in mind that celebs, big US celebs these days, are not geared up for that Parkinson-type interview.
That's
so
true enough.
You're looking for a different thing.
Anyway, as I said, I'm sure he'll pop up somewhere, even maybe on this show.